Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Tammy Davis and I appreciate you joining me for this video on essential oils. I've been sitting here like over the last few days like ruminating. I had a really great meeting the other day with someone. We were talking about stress and I've even done a video right after that. That- And but I've just kind of been wanting to say more about it to really emphasize why the use of essential oils every single day is necessary, but using them a little differently than what we're currently doing. Because typically, what we do is we know that this oil is good for this and this oil is good for that, and so we pick it up and we use them according to the listed properties. And what I'm wanting to do here is actually parallel or create an understanding that how all of this is connected. So, essential oils and the use of vitamin D. Um, how do we use essential oils to help us use vitamin D? Well, one of the things that I want to point out here is that physical health issues are a manifestation of our energetic body. I've had some people go, they've kind of like want to dance around this and say, well, everything is energy, and it's true, everything is energy, and we don't really want to believe that our thoughts and feelings about our emotions are in fact impacting our health, and yet they are. So once you've got a physical manifestation of some health issue, it's representative of the emotional body and where it's been. This is the reason why things will be look like they have a family history. Um, I mean, the interesting thing is, I just had one of my clients, an Amish um, person, call me. Her husband was told he had excessively high blood pressure last evening. She was panicked, wanted to know what I would suggest, and truthfully, there was nothing around the house that's going to help reduce that rapidly. We're talking it was 200 over 112. The person who did the reading actually, I guess, did suggest, I don't know if they put him on medication. I have no idea what happened because it was a message that was left. But the point is that um, when I got back to her, I mean, we can definitely do an oil blend. Without question, we can do an oil blend, but high blood pressure is hormonally driven. And it could be, it could be anything. It could be an anxiety, it could be, high stress, but it's going to be hormonally driven because all of these processes are regulated by hormones. In this case, this gentleman, I know a few years ago, I think about six, he was taking a hydrochlorothiazide, which is a type of diuretic. So, remembering that, and I contacted her and I was explaining to her that the use, if it did in fact help him, then the recommendation I would have would be to at least start with something that's going to help move fluid at this point to begin the reduction until I knew a little bit more about everything that they had taken on in the way of supplementation and medications given the person who had done the reading. But that said, his mother has struggled with edema, serious edema, as well as his father. So, and because they're Amish, I don't mean any disrespect by this, but the same thing could be said about any family. When you're raised with a mindset, you tend to adopt the thoughts and behaviors. It becomes a pattern. And this is the stuff that gets passed on. And while you might want to say, well, you're talking about thinking versus retaining fluid. You're right, I am, and they're the same thing. Because with repetitive, when we remain in that groove, for lack of a better expression, when we remain in that groove of thinking and acting, we we almost put like the go button on the epigenome to operate at that level. So it's consistently operating at that level, and it's consistently, when you have, I can use the Amish culture. It's a very structured. I do know that a lot of their community members struggle with emotional distress because there's some conflicting thoughts between the way they're thinking and maybe the community elders would suggest, and even for that matter, their parents. So there's a lot of conflict on a mental and emotional basis. And although they're continuing to operate accordingly, the mind is affecting their health. And but we can take this out of the Amish and bring it out into the bigger world. We're seeing this everywhere. So once you have a physical manifestation, rest assured, like I said, you've been operating at an emotional level for so long that has led you to this particular issue. It's not that it's insurmountable, hopefully, that you cannot begin to restore some degree of wellness and comfort. In the meantime, though, you have to understand that there's no quick fix. It wasn't like you were pissed off for a few days and then all of a sudden had a heart attack. You've been angry for a very, very long time. You've been angry because you're heartbroken in some way, sad. I'm going to go with heartbroken. Oftentimes, many of us lose sight of who we really are, or for that matter, valuing ourselves. This is the correlation to chakra work that I often talk about. The energy of our chakras, our energy centers. And so self love, and this is something I've talked about for years, um, is to me the key to restoring health and wellness on this planet. And given the degree of the hormonal shitstorm we're experiencing between environmental toxins and the disruption in our own bodies, and every health condition is hormonally driven. So that right there suggests nitric oxide synthase. You have women and men with estrogen feeding cancers. You have men with low testosterone. We have high degrees of autoimmune disorders. We have excessive levels of mental health issues. And I just did a video, I know, on this. So I don't want to get back into all of that. But nitric oxide synthase is a huge influence on every aspect of our health: digestive, respiratory, cardiovascular, and mental. That pretty much just describes the whole body because it also influences. Nitric oxide is also indicated with the immune system, immune activity, which I wrote about back in April and May. I'll put that link in the box below. You can take a look at that and how I paralleled or tied nitric oxide into that. So it's a very, very important component to our health. And because it really focus, well, gosh, it's like I said, it's cardiovascular and respiratory. That's heart chakra stuff. Okay. Digestive, that's your manipura, your third chakra, your solar plexus. Okay. And then you have mental health. Now you've got you got your intuition and you've got your connection to your divine source. So we're looking at this, and the other day what I said was, to me, this right here, this is the you have three above, you have throat, third eye, and crown. You have three below: solar plexus, the sacral, and the root. So the heart chakra, truthfully, in my opinion, is the center of it, and it expands into both directions. And so we have a world of people that on some level learned at one point or time, in their life, where they were heartbroken over something. And I'm not talking about in just a relationship. I'm talking about something devastated them, that they lost, that we all interpret it to be that we suck, we're not, if we were better, we would have, people would have loved us more. It becomes an externally driven experience where if only we had done this, if only we had said that, if only somebody else would have loved us. And so we stop loving ourselves unconditionally, to the point where we begin to look for validation outside of us that indicates whether or not we are loved. This level of operation, and I mean, gosh, I mean, some of the examples that I could give you just from the Amish community, but I work with other people too. I mean, I have a current client right now that if you look at him physically, you can see he is one pissed off mofo. And you can see where he's holding it. it's totally, not to be sounding cliche, but he's very disempowered by his own emotions. um, I don't know his story, but there's definitely heart chakra issues. There's definitely nitric oxide synthase issues. He's got cardiovascular issues. He's got weight issues. And then he went and had some body work done the other day. And unfortunately, the clinician did not take the time to actually to disregard his request to go deeper, um, and beat the hell out of his back, and and over the third chakra and then the heart area. And went into full on healing crisis, a herxing. He just was completely um, detoxing, to the degree where his shoulders tensed up, and he's got pain. He's just an absolute mess, and now he's having to ride it out. And he doesn't have to. He can certainly numb it out, right? My encouragement to him was to get real about his emotions. It's not about hiding your anger, and it's not about like over expressing it. It's about getting real about where you are struggling with your own self worth, and by self worth, I mean loving yourself unconditionally, being confident in who you are, in spite of what other people say. Being kind to yourself, no matter what other people tell you about yourself. Other people's opinions are simply just a projection. But the bottom line is, when we operate at this level on a daily basis, especially when it's wrapped up, and don't worry, I'll get back to vitamin D here in a minute, but when it's wrapped up in the way we were, in the way we were raised, not just our parents, but just in the environment we were raised in. And this is an environment too. Okay. So internally we have an environment, externally we have an environment. So there's a lot of variables here. And the reason why we have different manifestations of physical health issues. But if we were really to single it out, no, nobody wants to be sick. And at the same time, it's, if we really want to restore wellness and health, then we've got to get real about what has been missing in our lives. And I can rest, I would bank every penny that I've ever made and will ever continue to make on the fact that what's been missing in our lives has been us. And this may sound like an oversimplification of how to restore wellness, and it's not, because health is simple. Okay. It is an unlearning, it's an undoing to restore wellness and health. And it's a resetting of our energy. And this is the reason why oils are profoundly important to help keep things. I'm not going to say, and there's a lot of chakra practitioners, and I've been practicing myself. Um, but I don't tell people that, oh, you're blocked here and you're overexpressed here. It's just really keeping things fluid. There's a fluidity to this, and really selecting oils that, number one, would benefit what's going on with your particular system and help relieve, so relieving symptoms there, but also helping to restore stabilization, helping to stabilize the system and reset the nitric oxide synthase, and settling the hormonal system down into a more functional process, as well as cooling the immune system off. Um, it's pretty spectacular, and this is the reason why I even titled this Essential Oils and Vitamin D, because the thing is, with vitamin D, um, it has to be transported into the body. Okay, so we produce vitamin D, and then there's the vitamin D receptor that has to. This is where we transport it with the calcium, and then it's used for immune system. It's used for the thyroid. It's used for mental health. It's used for everything. But the second we get stressed, okay, the DSM-5, which is the psychiatric Bible, this is where they come up with all their diagnoses. The DSM-5 lists caffeine as the most addictive substance on the planet. Okay, I know you, if you've been with me for a while, thanks for hanging in there. And you've heard me say that at least 90% of the population around the world consumes caffeine on a daily basis. This is significant because caffeine, being an addictive substance, means it has the ability to alter the dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway. Okay. Now, caffeine also jacks your cortisol. Okay. As does other forms of environmental stress, as well as mental, environmental, internal and external. Okay. Now, here's the kicker. Cortisol also changes that structure. So technically, with the degree of stress that we have on this planet, for as much as a new mother and new father want to have the most blissed out pregnancy, it's going to be rough. And this is another reason why we're seeing more and more children being born with health issues, because of the cortisol that is being kicked out into their system and affecting their body. Now, it gets even better because cortisol will interfere, or alter rather, the VDR, the vitamin D receptor activity, slowing down the transportation of vitamin D into the body, as well as calcium, hence obesity, overactive immune systems, and so on and so forth. Again, the physical manifestation really is representative of the emotional body. So to use essential oils, which ones do you use for vitamin D? Well, let me tell you, what you wanted to use is the ones that actually support your system and help to not just relieve symptoms, but actually relieve stress at the core being the DNA. And again, that, how to determine that is going to be based on you, your system. I'm currently writing a book. I had a book out on sleep and essential oils, and I'm completely revising it to really get into what I'm talking about here and choosing oils that would help with sleep, because chronobiology is very big on the cycles and the rhythms of life. And this is altered significantly in the world that we're living in right now. And why is that important? Because that's stress when we don't sleep. So I invite you to join me on aromagenomics. There's different levels that you can get in at that. Or I mean, there's one level, but there's different ways that you can pay to join in that. But this is the kind of things we talk about. It's how to incorporate and use oils so that you are supporting your emotional body. When you know that you're going to be easily cranked, what can you do to actually support your emotions? You don't want to just stuff them, but you want to identify, well, what's making me anxious? What's making me sad? What's making me frustrated or agitated or irritated, right? What is, so that's one level. If you have digestive issues, using oils that alleviate the digestive issues, and in the meantime also support what else is going on. Okay, so that it's layers, and again, it's building on what we already understand. Oh, by the way, okay, so here 1829, 1830, 18 and a half minutes in, I want people to know, I mark that for myself technically because I'm going to put it in the description box. But for those of you who currently represent a company, whether it be Young Living, doTERRA, or another company that promotes the ingestion of essential oils and or as supplements and or just by putting it in the water, knock it off. Okay, just knock it off. I don't care what level you are at in this company, whether you're, one of the sales team or if you're in, on the board, knock it off. Essential oils are made up chemicals. Plant constituents are chemicals. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference if you are promoting therapeutic, natural, however you want to call it. Ours are pure, so you can take yours internally. Knock it off. I have given other statements as to why I don't recommend it, but as of right now, given this book that I'm writing and other work that I'm doing, you have to stop it. Okay, it's not about the purity, it's about what is in it, the constituents that are in it. And there are identifiable constituents that have been picked up and pointed out through Europe as well as other organizations in the United States as being harmful, hazardous to our health. A good example is alpha copine. It's not in a lot of oils, but it is in some oils. And to be suggesting that we can take oils, and that's just one constituent, okay? Other constituent, and here's the deal. If you take it in a capsule, okay, it might be kind of microdosed a little bit, but if you start sticking it and just like doing this, and I actually had a dream about this last night, that somebody was just sitting in front of me just shaking a bottle of oil into their mouth. That's really weird. And I just, I'm talking about this, I just flashed. You are, there's no telling how much you're getting. So certain constituents are considered hazardous to our health. So if you're using pure oils, you better knock it off and stop telling people that they can consume. And that I would just say across the board, don't be specifying which constituent. Across the board, stop ingesting oils. And therefore, it also brings it back to if they are not pure, these are adulterated with other chemicals. And here's the deal, you guys. Some of the adulterations that are occurring are taking constituents such as this alpha copine because of the type of fragrance it has, and they're inserting it into other oils for the fragrance to enhance the fragrance. Okay, so this is the reason why we don't ingest oils. That's it, hands down, cut and dry. But after that, feel free to use oils that represent what's going on with you, support your overall well-being, and begin to help to stabilize the hormonal system, the immune system, the hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal axis, basically stabilizing the stress mechanism to the core. If you need any help with that, let me know. I'm available for a consult. We can do a Zoom consult. I'd be happy to meet you face to face and we can talk, as well as joining in aromagenomics where you have lifetime access to me. And yeah, consults there too. All right. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions that I can answer in a general on a general platform. And if it's more specific to you, let's set up a consult or join me in aromagenomics. All right. Thanks. Take care.